Good evening there, everybody. What is happening? Hopefully, y'all are having a wonderful day today. So, when it comes down to it, I thought that I, of course, would review this little video that I found very particularly interesting. This is going to be a video by that of the boxing channel known as Dante's Boxing Nation. And what Dante's Boxing Nation is going to talk about today, for those of you that have not heard the recent news, Mr. Naoya Inoue, unfortunately for him, at least allegedly, he has suffered, I believe it's either a hand injury or a leg injury. I can't necessarily remember, but apparently in recent news, I've been hearing that it is a knee injury within that of sparring or within that of practice. And apparently, Mr. Inoue, he more than likely will have to reschedule the fight. Apparently, it's been postponed, which I, of course, don't think is that huge of a deal. Sometimes fights get postponed. Now, the big question is that is it truly that of an actual injury, or is it something else? And Dante's Boxing Nation, of course, because once again, Naoya Inoue or Naoya Inoue, he is getting attention as a possible number one pound for pound fighter. We all knew what he was going to try and do, and this is a big part of the reason why I like to review his videos, because when it came to Jamel Charlo, and when it came to that of certain other fighters that he tended to like Errol Spence Jr., when they pulled out with certain injuries, apparently they were authentic injuries, and there's no way that they would lie, and there's no suspicions. But as soon as Naoya Inoue ends up pulling out of the fight, there's steroids about, or he believes that it's possible steroids and all this other stuff. And don't get me wrong, it could be. It could be. But I think that had this been, let's be real, a black American fighter, more than likely Dante wouldn't be saying any of these things. We all know that he would not be saying any of these things. When it came to Jamel Charlo pulling out of the Tim Tszyu fight, there was no alleged ducking. There was no alleged overall him trying to avoid the fight or steroids or anything of that sort. And Mr. Inoue has never been caught on steroids. He's never been caught on PEDs. In my view, at least, he hasn't shown any super big signs of PEDs. That doesn't mean that he isn't on them. Like I said, I think a lot of these fighters in general are on PEDs in the first place. But I just thought that this was very interesting because, once again, it goes to show you what Dante's real goal is, which, I think that some of his goals, I think, are a good thing with trying to promote black fighters in a better life. But his goal also, just like that of old media's goal, is to tear down the certain fighters that he does not like by whatever means necessary. And one of those fighters is that of Mr. Naoya Inoue. But anyways, let's see what he has to say. Let's get into it.
I believe once again. Yeah. See, if I break down, I'm not being biased. If a person, I'm like, oh, he's good. But I have to say this: if I break down that fight between me and him before it happens, it most likely would happen until they work on what I'm about to say. But I'm not going to say it. I see me wiping him out clean. He's too small for me. He's too short. His reach isn't there. I'm not going to sit there for those power shots all the time. It's just a lot that I can just analyze off of him. He's good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not discrediting him, taking anything away from him. I took my hat off, but he's not better than me.
Let me comment on that really quickly once again, because I've been commentating on this fight now for probably the past several months of it potentially happening. This fight, in my opinion, is a very, very particularly interesting fight. It truly is a great fight. And what Stephen Fulton said, in my opinion, there is a little bit of merit to that. Because I don't think that he's just going to stand there and sit there and take some of those shots either, or always try and exchange with Mr. Naoya Inoue or Naoya Inoue, however you pronounce his name, in terms of that of the mid-range. Now, I watch certain boxing breakdowns. I watch this one channel here and there, as I'm sure some of you have watched it as well, named Boxing Gems, and I think that he does a very good job in terms of breaking down some of the fights. There's certain points that he's brought up that I thought have been very, very intelligent to bring up. I've seen his breakdown of the Inoue versus Fulton fight, and he thinks, both of them think in that video, that if it stays too much in the mid-range, then more than likely Inoue could possibly win the fight. And I think that he can, if it stays too much in the mid-range, but more than likely Stephen Fulton is going to use his feet to move in and outside of range. And the big question will be, how is Mr. Inoue going to be able to handle that? Will his defense hold up? Will his combinations hold up? Will his counter-punching ability hold up? Or will he have to change strategies? Will he have to try to bully Stephen Fulton in the fight? In my opinion, the best opportunity for Mr. Inoue to win the fight is to really try and bully Stephen Fulton on the inside. That's just my opinion. But we'll see what ends up happening with that, because Steven Fulton is going to be a bit bigger. He's going to be clearly the best fighter that Inoue has ever fought, and it's going to be a very particularly interesting fight.
Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? So some of the most unexpected bad news has just been reported. Naoya Inoue pulls out of his May 7th date with Stephen Fulton. Now, first things first, you guys seen that clip that I just played for you where Stephen Fulton says, I don't really want to talk too much about Inoue's flaws, because if I go ahead and reveal a lot of the stuff that he needs to work on, this fight probably wouldn't even happen right now. He said that a year ago. Now, Inoue, he broke the news on his Instagram account. And he said on this channel, he said, we inform you that the title match scheduled for May 7th has been postponed due to a knee injury during practice. We apologize to all concerned and Fulton's country for the great inconvenience. Again, we are very sorry to the fans who have been waiting. I've decided that getting into the ring in perfect condition is extremely difficult until now, and it's been a struggle. But I've reached this decision. First of all, I want to work on the recovery of my injury so that I can get into the ring in perfect condition. And I'm glad that you can look forward to the fans as we prepare our best to be able to show a hot match. I'm going to be in a good mood. Now, you guys have to understand, if some of the words sound a little backwards or don't make sense, it's because it's a translation. It's a Japanese to English translation. Now, this could have been just an injury. It could have been everything was going according to plan, and then boom, all of a sudden, he has a knee injury, and he has to pull out. But guys, if you've been paying attention to the news and you've been paying attention to my videos, it hasn't even been a week yet that I reported something else that Inoue posted on his Instagram. And that was him complaining about the random drug testing. Apparently, at that time, the doping agencies, they showed up, and he showed a picture of the test that he took, and he said, at least this is what he posted, this was the caption. He said, unannounced doping test 2 times a week is too much. And then 4 or 5 days after he says that, he pulls out of the fight.
Well, I would have to see if he actually said too much, because from what I remember, what Inoue just said is something overall. I don't know if it was really like that, but he said something about the doping tests. And even if he did say that, who knows? He's not the first fighter, of course, to complain about the amount of random drug testing that has been going on. Now, could that mean that he is on some sort of performance enhancer? Could that mean that, he is afraid of possibly or potentially getting caught? It certainly could mean that. But let's also be real. If this was Jermell Charlo, if this was someone else, Dante's Boxing Nation will not be commentating on it. And more than likely, he would say that there's no storyline here. Every single time that there's a fighter, whether it be Canelo Alvarez, Tyson Fury, Inoue, someone along those lines, but let's be real, a non-black American fighter, every single time one of those fighters ends up pulling out of a fight or something ends up happening, it's always steroids, or they're ducking a fight, or they're doing this, they're doing that. But when Gervonta Tank Davis won a fight with Vasily Lomachenko, when Jermell Charlo pulled out of the Tim Tszyu fight, and a multitude of other things ended up happening, oh, there's nothing to worry about. Oh, it's a realistic injury. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. And once again, I don't have a problem. But once again, Dante, he's alleging something that right now he really can't 100% prove. Now, it's okay to say, well, is it possible that in a way maybe that he could be on steroids? Yes, but Dante is pretty much alleging that, or he's putting that video out, and we all know that he's basically doing this with only these type of fighters, like Inoue and Canelo and some of these other guys. And don't get me wrong, some of these fighters have been caught on the steroids, like Canelo Alvarez, but Inoue so far has not.
I think all of us can agree that that comes off as highly suspicious. First of all, I've never even heard a boxer ever complain about the random drug testing process.
So then you don't know shit about boxing, because there's been a multitude of boxers, there's been a multitude of athletes that have complained about the random drug testing. Now, once again, could that be because they are on some sort of performance enhancer? Could that be because they're on PEDs? Yes, it certainly could be, but there's also a lot of people that believe that the process, that it could be a little bit better, or that sometimes it can be a little bit too much. Now, once again, could this be Inoue basically saying that this is a little bit too much and I'm on something and I don't want to get caught? Who knows? Maybe. But like I said, there's no way to prove that right now. So Dante, like what he regularly does, he's going to try and allege something, or he's going to try to hint at something without any evidence whatsoever.
This whole situation, it smells extremely fishy. But hopefully...
Right, but if this was Steve on Fulton doing it, more than likely it wouldn't be fishy at all, right?
This fight is still going to happen. The fight hasn't been canceled as of yet. It's just been postponed. That's a little bit of a good sign. But at the same time, hopefully, he's not trying to find a way out of this fight completely and just go a different direction. I think Naoya is into...
Well, let's wait until that happens to actually judge. Dante's like one of these women. He's like one of these super duper liberal women that takes a look at a man in terms of a rape case and believes that they're guilty before proven innocent or guilty. That's what he's like, depending on the people that he does and does not like. When Tyson Fury pulled out of the Deontay Wilder third fight, because of the COVID situation, it was because he was ducking, he was this, he was that. And then the third fight happened and Fury whooped his ass the worst time out of all three of the fights anyway. When it came to Canelo Alvarez fighting Dimitri Bivol, it's because he's afraid of Jamal Charlo and all these other guys. Like, give me a fucking break. And don't get me wrong, like I said, sometimes I don't always think that he brings up the worst of points. Canelo, for example, has been caught on steroids. But let's wait until there's some actual concrete evidence that Mr. Naoya Inoue that he's actually on steroids. Now, once again, could he potentially be? He certainly could be. Who the hell knows? Like I said, I'm a believer that most of these athletes are on something anyway. So more than likely, he potentially could be on something. But there's been no evidence of that yet. There's been no hints of him potentially taking PEDs. There's never been any failed drug tests. There hasn't seemed to be any side effects. There hasn't seemed to be any massive changes in terms of, his physique or anything like that. Nothing seemed to be, a huge change. There's no acne on his body like what there was with a Juan Manuel Marquez and a Jesse Vargas. There's no sudden huge change in power or change in stamina. There's nothing like that. Even with Canelo Alvarez, there was a little bit of a change in stamina to where his stamina ended up getting a little bit better. So you can probably allege that more than likely Canelo was on something in a multitude of his fights, and on top of that, he was caught on PEDs prior. But like I said, with Mr. Inoue, we don't have any concrete evidence. That isn't me saying that he's not on something, and if he were to get caught on something, I wouldn't be surprised. But let's be real. Dante is also trying to allege this because he does not want Naoya Inoue to be the number one pound-for-pound fighter. And he basically makes a living off of trying to make these certain fighters look bad by any means necessary. Like I said, his main goal at the end of the day is to try and make the black American fighters look as good as possible by whatever means necessary. He will take whatever route he needs to try and tear down the certain other fighters that might be a threat to the number one pound-for-pound spot. If that means Lomachenko, it means Lomachenko. If that means Canelo, it means Canelo. If that means Naoya Inoue, it means Naoya Inoue.
Deep when it comes to this situation with Fulton, and it would be extremely hard for him to just pull out of this fight completely. It would make him look extremely bad. It would really, really ruin his reputation. Even though...
Yeah, but once again, let's wait until that happens.
Old media will try to protect him. But because Inoue is not in America, he doesn't live in America like Canelo does, he doesn't really understand how old media works. That's the reason why he said, I apologize to Fulton's country, because he doesn't know what time it is over here. And that's a good thing for real boxing fans, because that means there's more of a chance of this fight still happening. Let's see how it all plays out. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one. All right, now check this out.
But anyways, that's pretty much about it for today. But Dante's Boxing Nation, like regular, especially with fighters that he tries to pull down and tear down, he'll allege anything that he needs to, or he'll hint at anything that he needs to. Now, I'm not saying that he's 100% wrong in terms of saying that maybe Inoue is not on something. But like I said, you weren't doing this shit with Jamal Charlo. You weren't doing this shit with other fighters when they ended up pulling out of fights or certain things didn't end up happening. So like I said, let's give Inoue, I'm going to say that, I don't want to say the benefit of the doubt, but so far there hasn't been any clear indicators that he's been on PEDs. So let's give him the benefit of the doubt right now, and let's be respectful until we see possibly some concrete evidence. But Dante, of course, knowing his ass, he was never going to do that in the first place. Because his goal, he has to try to tear down Naoya Inoue from the start. because he knows that if Inoue does win this fight, there's going to be a great debate for him being the #1 pound-for-pound fighter, and he has to try to sink that seed into people's minds that he's not that type of guy. So, it is what it is. But anyways, that's really about it for today. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see when this fight ends up getting re-announced. More than likely, it is going to get postponed. Apparently, it already has been postponed. We'll just see where the date is and where. But anyway, that's really about it. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you all later.